We are gonna start new series. What if Naruto is secretly married? Part 1. If you enjoy this video, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Now wasting no more time. Let's begin.
Oh yeah, take a number. I was lightning before the thunder. Feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder.
A 16-year-old Naruto sighed as he looked at the ship in front of him. He had a worried look on his face because only he knew what was really going on. Some people had parts of the puzzle but not like him. For his entire life he had lived a lie and now it was time to come clean. Arasaki was destroyed. The Sound Village and Orochimaru were eliminated. Everything seemed like it was going great for the Leaf Village, but that was a lie. He looked around and noticed that everyone was here now. The Kaze Kage Gaara and his sibs. The Hyugas, Akamike, Inyazaku's, Abaram, Yamako's clan heads, the Hokage herself along with all of the Rookie 9 and Guys team but Suzuki along with the Senseis, Ibiki, Anko, Jinma, Ayame and her father, Tajuna, and a few others assorted guests. A memory flashed in his head of the Princess of Snow Country and her family. He smiled at that and Sakura saw it, and for the first time this trip he was happy, and she asked, "What's got you happy now, Naruto?" Naruto looked at her and said, "I can't wait to see Yuki Ajin." "You remember her, right?" Sakura laughed and said, "It a little hard to forget the Princess of Snow Country after what we went through, all that trouble to save her." It was right before Suzuki left. With her smile fading a little, Naruto smiled and said, "Don't worry, you will see him Ajin someday. Also, she's really became a strong leader after that time and her country has grown." Sakura looked at him and asked, "How do you know that?" Naruto looked at her and said, "I visited a couple of times while I was traveling with Eros Henin." He asked her to be in his Ikeka Paradise movie. Sakura looked at him like he was crazy and she asked, "She did not do it, did she?" Naruto laughed and said no. Her response was that only her husband would get to see her naked. Sakura let go the breath she was holding and said, "That's good that she is waiting." Naruto started up the ramp but yelled loud enough for her to hear and said, "No, you misunderstand me. She's already married." As he finished walking up the ramp followed by everyone else. When he made it to the top he was stopped by one of the members of the crew who leaned in and whispered in Naruto's ear. The crewman said, "Sorry to interrupt Naruto-sama, but the prince and princess have come to see you along with theater security. They are in the king's suite near the captain's to your left, room 101. Naruto smiled and nodded and turned to the left and walked toward the front of the ship. Gaara was looking at Naruto and remembered the note he received last month from Naruto. "Gaara, I hate to ask this of our friendship, but I need you to come to Konoha on the 15th of next month and ask the Hokage to join the mission to meet the leader of Snow Country with all of the clan heads, as well as the Rookie 9 and Guys team and Hanabi Hyuga also. Tsunade does not know about this at all, but it was an S-class mission that I could not talk about before this time and date that the third Hokage had me do for him. I promise that once we get on the boat and far enough out to sea on the way to Snow Country I will explain everything. This will not only affect Konoha but Suna as well, and if it does not go as planned we will find ourselves in the Fourth Great War. It's that serious and I am not allowed to mention or even tell Tsunade I know about this until then. Please, for our friendship and anything else I have with you, do this for me. I will be making similar requests to certain other parties that are involved, and the official notice from Snow Country will have exactly who has to come. Do not act as though I know what is happening until I say otherwise. Trust me, it's more important than Arasaki. Thanks. Naruto." Gaara looked at his sibs who he had already showed the letter to back in Suna and nodded, and they boarded the cruise-like ship also. Sakura saw Naruto nod and walked to the front of the ship, and she started to head that way also when the same man said, "I'm sorry miss, only special cases are allowed in that section of the ship while we are still docked." She looked at him and asked, "Then why is Naruto allowed?" Getting the attention of everyone who was on the ramp. The man smiled and said Naruto-sama was requested to go there by the leader of Snow Country's private guards. That got everyone's attention because no one ever called Naruto, Naruto-sama. A certain white-eyed girl smirked at that, knowing a little about going on after what happened. Flashback. A 9-year-old Hinata was standing outside of Naruto's apartment to deliver the birthday present she had gotten for him. A pair of goggles. She was getting ready to put it on the ground at his door when she heard what sounded like a fight going on inside his apartment. Fearing the worst, she activated her bloodline and was shocked by what she was seeing. Naruto was fighting a wooden target that was moving, and what was even more surprising was what he had on. He had an ABNU uniform on except the mask which was on his belt as he fought. She was so shocked she failed to notice the person who walked up behind her. The third Hokage said, "Let's go inside, Hinata. By the expression on your face I think you accidentally uncovered something you should not have. We will talk about it, and I have a proposition for you." Hinata was first scared until she saw the person behind her was the Hokage, and as she listened to him she calmed down and they entered Naruto's apartment and had a talk that would change her life forever. And flashback. A man who Team 7 members knew as Tajuna smiled as he knew what was going on because he had agreed with the third to help in return for what he did. Flashback. The third looked at Tajuna and said, "I agree to send protection and only charge you the C rank, which is the price you can pay even though I know it isn't A rank." I will be sending one of my best ninja with you on this mission to make sure things work out along with the side mission. He will contact you at a later time down the road after the mission has been completed and tell you what needs to be done to pay the mission. He will give you the code phrase, Kitsune Cage. Until that time, act as though you were scared and your country was too poor to pay. He will make sure once the team finds out the true rank it continues and is completed. And flashback. He could not believe what it was that had to be done for this, but he had requested just like he was asked, along with the other thing that was more of his area of expertise. Acting as the leader of Wave Country was just a plus to it, but it was all worth it. He grabbed his bag and climbed the ramp. Hayash was not a happy man. First he was asked to come to the Hookish Tower with both his daughters and Niji, and then he was told they all had to prepare for a trip to meet with the leader of Snow Country for something that could lead to the destruction of the Leaf Village. He first was going to refuse until he was told the other 7 great clans had also been given the message along with a list of others that were requested by name. Never in all his years had he ever seen anything like this. It did not escape his notice that not only had the Kaze Cage made the request, but also the leaders of Wave T, the traveling merchant, the leader of Snow Country, whoever this person is, Waterfall Country had sent message only, as had the Rainbow Country. Whatever was going on was being backed by some of the more wealthy villages in the world. He did not know what it was or how it was all connected, but was told that the third Hookage was involved somehow. Tsunade looked at her teammate, who seemed to be down for some reason. She was shocked at first when she received all the requests from these different countries along with the scroll that was written by her sensei, the third Hookage, that told whoever was Hookage to do as requested by the parties that came to the current Hookage. At first she did not know what they all had in common, but thanks to her assistant Sakura she had learned they did have one thing in common. Even the group of ninja that had been requested. Ibiki, Anko, Shizuan, Iruka, the Rookie 9 and Guy's team with theater senseis, the Konohamaru Corp. All of the clans of Konoha, and the only other main member of one of them. The cook from the only ramen stand in Konoha, along with his daughter Ayam, and Dustin, the owner of the Wolf Claw weapon shop. Herself and Jirya. The only common thread was Naruto. Somehow he was involved, she knew it, and the way Jirya was acting he knew all, or at least some of what was going on, but since he told her that the leader of Snow Country had sworn him to secrecy until the time was right, he could not because the repercussions were grave. She hated being left out of the loop. When Sakura started to make a scene about Naruto, it confirmed that he had something to do with this. After everyone got on board, the whistle blew and the ship left the docks on the one-day trip by sea to Snow Country. Tsunade, after they were out at sea for about an hour, called for a meeting with everyone involved. 15 minutes later she looked at everyone and said, "Is this everyone?" Everyone looked around and Kakashi said, "It looks like Naruto not here." Tsunade sighed and rubbed her temples and said, "He better not be picking up your habits, Kakashi. Sakura, can you go and find him quickly?" Sakura nodded and left the room and was heading toward the front of the ship when someone who looked like an ABNU landed in front of her and said, "Can I help you, Miss Sakura?" Sakura was startled and asked, "How do you know my name?" The man said all of the escort security was given info on the people who were coming on this trip. Sakura nodded, knowing similar situations like this before, but not on such a large scale, and she said, "I was looking for my teammate Naruto." Another figure landed beside the first and he was dressed like the first, except he had his mask off, and it shocked Sakura by who it was, and he said, "Sorry Sakura, the dope is busy visiting the prince and princess of Snow Country right now and they are not to be disturbed." Sakura stood like a fish out of water and finally asked Suzuki-kun, "Is that you?" Suzuki smiled and said, "Yes, I was asked to help with security along with Itake here," pointing to the man who was beside him. Sakura pointed her finger at the taller of the two and said, "Itake, as in the Itake you left us for to kill, the same Itake that worked for Adasuki, the same Itake that was after Naruto." Itake took off his mask and said, "Yes, but there is a lot more you are not aware of. By the end of this trip all questions will be answered. Come on, brother. We need to check in with Haku and Zabuza. I will inform them and Naruto-sama about your needing to see him." Suzuki nodded and both left his swirls of leaves, and Sakura stood there for a few minutes as her brain tried to reboot before turning around and walking back to the group location. When Sakura entered the room everyone could tell something was wrong, and Tsunade asked, "What's wrong, Sakura, and where's Naruto?" Sakura looked at her for a few moments and finally snapped out of it and sat down and said, "I think I just lost my mind." Tsunade looked at her warily and Ino said, "What's new for it?" Sakura still looked out of it, said, "I went to find Naruto when somebody who looked like an ABNU appeared and called me by my name." Suzuki then appeared beside him dressed almost the same and said Naruto was with the prince and princess of Snow Country, and then he acted all chummy with the guy next to him who removed his mask, and he called Itake and they seemed to get along, even though I checked the body of Itake myself and saw he was dead. They then left and said they had to meet Haku and Zabuza, who both died on our wave mission. A chuckle could be heard and everyone turned and saw it came from Tajima, and he said, "No, they are alive and are members of the Elemental Village Security Force directly under the Shadame Elemental Cages." Kakashi screamed, "But I killed Haku with Ichidori and Zabuza died fighting those bandits while he killed Gato. How can they be alive?" Gaara asked, "And how is Itake alive?" "I saw his body myself." The door opened and Haku walked in with Zabuza and she said, "I was asked to make sure you are all doing okay. We still have a long journey ahead of us and we want everyone as comfortable as possible. Naruto-sama will be here shortly as soon as he can get away from the prince and princess." Kakashi looked at her with big eyes and asked, "How are you alive?" "I killed you." Zabuza chuckled and said those were blood clones. The Rokadiame Hokage had to make us disappear so we could work without the hunters after us to prepare to help the Leaf Village with what is happening. Tsunade looked at them and said there is no Rokadiame Hokage. I am the Godame Hokage and the only person I have considered as possible Rokadame Hokage is Naruto, but he is not ready. Who is this person? Haku said, I'm sorry, but the Sandyami appointed this person with permission from the two heads of the council in secret, and he has been waiting and preparing for what is to come. He was only allowed to give his existence only if you had refused to become Godame Hokage, or at this time now if the missions failed. I can't say any more because he will have to tell you the rest himself. The Sandame had to be careful with the situation at hand, or it would have meant either the death of everyone in the Leaf Village or the enslavement of everyone. Hayash asked, but how is that possible? Naruto walked into the room and said, tell me, Hayash, could the Leaf at any time in the last 30 years stand up to the combined power of 16 villages at one time? As he walked to the front of the room and leaned against the wall, shocking everyone by what he was wearing. He no longer had on his black and orange suit but a normal black ninja Chunin outfit with a white cape with orange flames across the bottom and sleeves, but he also had the kanji for Rokadiame Hokage. Tsunade looked at Naruto and asked what the hell's going on. The only thing that all of this has in common is you, so start explaining, and what is with the outfit you have? Naruto sighed and said, Zabuza, Haku, please join Attack and Suzuki in patrolling the ship for unwanted guests and also keep an eye out. I don't trust that warhorse more than I can throw him. He fucked the village over too many times, and by now the elders have informed him like I told them to. They both nodded and said together, yes, Naruto-sama. As they left, Naruto waited until the silence was broken by Tsunade, who said, start talking, Naruto. What is this Rokadiame stuff they were talking about, and what is going on? Naruto motioned for the empty seat with the others and said, have a seat. This will take a long time, and that question I asked you, Hayash, was not a simple question. That is exactly what we are facing. As he walked to the front of the room and sat down on the ground in a lotus position, Tsunade said, I am not moving until know what is going on. Naruto leaned down and rolled up his right pant leg and put his hand in a ram sign and said, Kia. And a distortion was seen and a tattoo appeared that only Tsunade knew meant. She looked at him and asked, how do you have the secret tattoo of the Hokage, Naruto? Only someone approved by the heads of the council and the Hokage could have that. Naruto motioned for the chair Ajian and she sat down looking dumbstruck, and Hayash looked at him and said, it is impossible for any country to stand up to the might of 16 countries at one time, and it is also impossible for them to join to do that because of their different views and opinions. Naruto said, I wish that was so, Hayash, but because of certain events it is really possible. It all started before most of the people in this room were even born. Can anyone in this room tell me how exactly the Second Great Ninja War ended? And Jirya, you might want to stay close to Tsunade. When I reveal some stuff about the past, she might try and kill herself or perform Orikimura forbidden jutsu to bring the Sandyami back to life so she can kill him. Jirya nodded and sat beside her, and she was looking at Naruto waiting. Shikamaru said the Second Great War ended when all the great countries decided no victor could be had, as they were all going broke and the loss of manpower was too much to have. They had a peace agreement that was only known by the people who attended it as to what was decided. What? Naruto shook his head and pulled out a scroll from his jacket before opening it and said, exactly right. The agreement was a sign of neutral hostilities. However, what is not mentioned in the history books is that the 11 minor countries had wanted to attack the 5 great nations after that, because most of the fighting took place in theater lands. The 5 great nations pleaded with them because it would have sent the economy of every nation into debt and into another endless war. A neutral party of the 5 great lords of the lands had decided to intervene and fix the problem before it got worse. Inoichi said, what does an event that happened nearly 70 years ago have to do with what is going on now, Naruto? I don't understand. Naruto looked at the scroll and said, I have the treaty that was signed. The neutral party had made an agreement with all the smaller nations to pay for the repairs to all the damage that was done. In exchange, the 5 great country would pay a tribute for 50 years to the neutral party to repay them for helping solve the problem. However, they covered themselves and they made each of the parents involved, the 5 great nations and the 11 smaller nations, that should any country fail to repay the debt in full, then the other countries had to help the neutral party claim ownership over the village that was in default and everything inside, including clans, bloodlines, buildings, money, ninja, and techniques, and villagers as property. In other words, it would be 16 countries against 1. Inoichi said, but surely we paid this so we would not have to be forced into slavery by this deal. Naruto said, we were fine until the last 10 years of the original contract, when a certain member of the Leaf Village decided he wanted his own private army during the Third Great War, and he intercepted the payments as spoils of war. He took the money and formed Root. The Sandane never found out because of the war until it was too late after the war had ended, when the neutral party asked to the total amount due at that time because they did not want to force the deal. Since our economy was crippled by the war, we were unable to pay it, so the Sandyami came up with a plan that bought us some time that unfortunately was interfered with Ajian but by someone else, so he had to use another plan, and he did that by training me to get the money for the village and also a fail-safe should outside interference happen. Ajian, looking bored while everyone was looking shocked. Sakura said, but you are an idiot, Naruto. How could he train you and do what you claim? It does not make any sense. Kakashi said, the Sandyami trained you, but how? I was your teacher, as was Jirya. How could he have trained you? Naruto took off his jacket and had a sleeveless black shirt on underneath and put his hands in a ram seal and said, Kia. and a distortion appeared on his left arm and a tattoo appeared that most of the adults recognized, and Naruto said, I was in ABNU for 4 years before I was 10 Kakashi. I had to show the village that I was an idiot to make them not look too closely at me because of fear or hate. I was trained to do missions solo, and I was also under attack before we had to kill part of the Uchiha clan, making several people gasp. Ino asked, why did you kill the Uchiha clan, Naruto? A voice from the back of the room said because after they found out what was going on by Danzo, they started betraying the Leaf Village by giving vital information to IWA and Cloud. It was the Uchiha Clan Council that had given Cloud info on how to kidnap Hinata, as well as information on when prized ninja were out on missions to either be killed or kidnapped. The night that we killed them, we had originally went to capture the Uchiha Council, but they Raisi sided and my father sided with us. It wound up where it was those loyal to my father and the Hokage vs those that were loyal to the council. As it ended, only 10 Uchiha were left alive, and another lie was created to try and help the village as everyone turned and saw attack Uchiha standing there. Gaara looked at him and his sand started to shoot for Itaki, only to be stopped by a group of vines and roses appearing and stopping them, making everyone look and see a pair of blonde-haired kids under the age of 4, and they had blue eyes, and a little girl said, "Don't hurt Uncle Itaki, Daddy. Our Sandman not going to hurt him, is he?" Naruto smiled and said, "No, Yuna. Uncle Gaara not going to hurt the guy who was giving us secret info on Arasaki. He was just playing, happy to see his friend Ajian. Now what are you and Arashi doing here? Daddy thought you were asleep." Making everyone sweat drop at the thought of Gaara playing and calling Itaki his friend. If it was not for the fact the little children were in the room, all hell would have broken loose. The little boy walked over and looked at the sand and was poking it and looked at Gaara and said, "Can you make sandcastle, Uncle Gaara?" Making everyone sweat drop even more. Yuna smiled and walked up to Naruto and got in his lap and said, "We woke up when Uncle Itaki came and checked on us, so we wanted to see you, Daddy." Naruto smiled and Tsunade finally asked Naruto, "Who are these kids and how do they use my grandfather's wood abilities?" Naruto reached into his coat and pulled out a seed and made it grow into a red rose and said, "Yuna, I want you to go and give this to the pretty lady there. Her name is Tsunade and she is your great-grandmother I told you and your brother about." Yuna smiled and got up and walked over and she said, "Hello, Granny." Tsunade smiled at the girl and took the rose and said, "What do you mean I am her grandmother and you still have not answered my questions?" Naruto sighed and said, "I know, and the answer is one of the reasons I never call you by your name or title. That's one of the lies the Sandyami told to try and keep things under wraps. You may not want to remember it, but you did have a child once. The Sandane told you that you had lost it because of the attack, but that was a lie. You had a baby boy who was my father. He did it to not only protect both you and him from your enemies, seeing as you had started collecting them at that point, but also to ensure that our family line did not end by accident. I have known since the first day we met in that bar. I wanted to tell you, but as a Hokage I was not allowed to because the needs of the village was more important at that point." Tsunade had a few tears in the corner of her eyes as she remembered those events, and she hugged the little girl some more and said, "Who was he, Naruto? Who was your father?" Jiraiya said in a sad voice, "It was Arashi Kazuma, the Yondaime. The Sandyami lived up to his name as the professor by outsmarting everyone as long as possible. I did not learn about it until the kids here used one of their bloodlines when Naruto had me make a trip here during our 3-year training trip. He had got away with tricking me the whole time we were here until we were leaving, and Yuna here called Naruto Daddy and made a flower like Naruto did a moment ago. Arashi came running up and said, 'Hey Daddy, look what Uncle Sasuke showed me.' And he made a few hand seals that made Kakashi eyes go wide and lightning started to form at the tips of Arashi's hand. Naruto smiled and said, 'I'm proud of you, son, but what have I told you about using jutsu when not in training areas or in fights, and did you learn it right or copy it?' Arashi rubbed the back of his head and said, 'I forgot, Dad, and I copied it. It's boring to learn it the other way.' Naruto shook his head and said, 'Until you learn to use it right, I don't want you to use it, Ajian, or I won't teach you the Raiznan when you get older, and I don't care if you can just copy it. If you don't know how to use it right and what else it does, it can be used against you.' Sakura finally had enough and jumped to her feet and screamed, 'Raiznan Naruto! He is just a child and does not have a fox in him to help heal him, and I know what that other jutsu was also. Chidori, what the hell kind of father are you, and when the hell did you become a father, and who is theater mother?' Yuna laughed and said, 'Uncle Sasuke is right. You are a pink hair banshee.' That did it. Almost everyone started to laugh at Sakura over that one, and she had a twitch. Naruto coughed a fake cough and said, 'Arashi, Yuna. Daddy still has a lot of things he needs to talk over with his friends, so go play with Uncle Itaki and ask Auntie Haku to show you how to fix boo-boos.' Both kids pumped their fist in the air and ran out screaming, 'Yeah, more jutsu.' When they were gone, Naruto turned back to the room and everyone had a look of explain on their face. Naruto cursed himself and said, 'First off, Sakura. That jutsu was not the Chidori but something called Raiden, nerve shock. It is a D-rank jutsu. We have been teaching him and his sister both defensive jutsu to help protect them since they were 2 years old, seeing as they have enough chakra for a normal genin and are actually nearly genius level. Arashi could give Shikamaru a good run and Shoji and go. W edited while Arasaki was still out there, as well as any enemies of mine or my family has out there. I had to keep secret about them even existing until now for fear that someone would either capture them or kill them to get to me. Now as for how they came to be, when Team 7 came here to help Yuki to reclaim her throne from her uncle, I had already been told what to expect on this mission, as I had a side mission to make sure her uncle never caused her problems, Ajian, to gain an ally and possible financial help. It was the one of the last missions the Sandaime had for me before he died. During that mission, Yuki and I sort of bonded, and after the mission was over and I was in the hospital, she confessed her feeling for me, and I had also developed feeling for her. Kakashi said, but you were completely covered in wounds after that, and I left Sasuke with you to keep an eye on you while me and Sakura returned to notify the Hokage of the mission. Naruto nodded and said, why do you think he was my best man at my wedding that week, and as for my wounds, I had the fox heal them quickly for me. Anyways, I told her about the real me and about the truth of Kyoki's attack and my family, and she did not hold it against me and even supported of it. I also told her about what was really going on. When I left to return, I did not know it, but she was pregnant with the twins you all saw earlier. When she found out, she sent word to me and I gave her my bloodline summon contract so we could keep in contact, and luckily for me the infiltration plan for the Sound Village had worked and I was given access out of the village to go around and prepare for the stuff. Tsunade finally come out of her emotion mess enough to ask what sound infiltration. Naruto said Sasuke defection was a setup so that we could recover the snake contract from Orochimaru and also have a spy in his village. For those who went on the mission, you will remember I nearly set several alarms off when we were fighting the Sound 5. It was a way to slow us down enough for Sasuke to successfully make it to Sound. I had my contact in ABNU who knew who I was, make sure an opening was available for him to leave. They also watched in the background when Sakura tried to stop Sasuke, but he had no choice. We both had our orders from the Sandaime we had to fulfill. They also were less than a mile behind each of our fights, ready to step in if things went for worse. I underestimated all of you on that mission as to how far you would go, or I would never have allowed it to progress as far as it did, and for those wounds I am sorry. Anyway, since he possessed a bloodline contract like I do now, he was able to relay messages like Ataka was doing to inform me and when he was alive the Sandaime what was happening. Shikamaru asked Naruto, what exactly is a blood contract you were talking about? I never heard of them before. Naruto smiled and said, I'm not surprised. Most people who have them don't know how to use them or even of their existence. Blood contracts are the original summoning contracts that were kept inside family lines, but after so many summon animals either got to many summoners or none at all, they started doing the contracts they use now. Bloodline contracts don't have to be signed, but you have to have the family markers in your blood for it to work. The Sandaime knew of 2 clans that had them and knew what animals they were, so they were like a hidden trump card for us. The Uchiha family has the cats. Hinata, would you be so kind? Hinata smiled and said, I would love to, Naruto-sama. And she did the hand signs after biting her thumb and slamming her hands on the ground, and a falcon appeared. Hayashi asked Hinata, how did you learn about that? Naruto said she learned it when she was 9 after she found out I was in ABNU. The Sandaime knew I would need some information when outside the village, so he told her what animal it was, and the rest is basic summoning. If you know what animal your bloodline contract was with, you just think of it while summoning. Hinata was given the mission to spy for me and inform me of important matters. Don't be mad at her, Hayashi. She was just following the orders of the Hokage. Tsunade asked, so which one does our family have? Naruto closed his eyes and said, originally we did not have one, but we do know because of Kyuubi. That reminds me, since I am coming clean, I have a few hunches about something. If you all would not mind, perform the hand seals for summoning and think of a fox in your head while doing it. Looking at everyone, Tsunade asked, why do you want us to do that, Naruto? Naruto thought for a moment and said, according to Kyuubi, the fox contract will only work up to 5 generations of me, meaning your grandfather and his brother, your parents, you and whoever was the father of Dad is, along with 2 generations of him, Dad himself, and whoever is my mother along with 3 generations of her, me and my children, with the only exception being my wife since I got permission from the fox. Odds are Mom and my grandfather are dead, but you never know, and I would like to know if I have any other family left. Jiraiya asked, so you want to know who your grandfather and mother are, huh? Naruto said yes. The one thing I learned about the third over the years under him is that he could lie through his teeth and you would never know, so I was thinking if he did something like he did with Granny here, I wonder what else he done. Everyone did it, and Tsunade, Shizune, and Jiraiya had a small fox appear in front of them raising a few eyebrows. Tsunade said, okay, how the hell did that happen? Shizune could be because of her Uncle Dan, who was the only man I slept with. Jiraiya rubbed the back of his head innocently, however that raised a lot of eyebrows, as it was what Naruto did out of habit when he did not want to say something. Tsunade narrowed her eyes and Jiraiya said, I can explain, Tsunade. She said, I'm listening. Jiraiya said, I was drinking with the Sandaime one night and I hung into Dan to make fun of him, and you walked into the bar drunk and thought I was Dan, and we kind of went into the ally, and you can guess the rest. Tsunade was pissed but stopped any kind of attack when Shizune asked Dan, how am I related to Naruto? I had sex with only one person, but it was not Arashi. His name was Miso and he looked nothing like the Yudame. In fact, he was a chunin and I am an only child, and my uncle apparently did not have kids if Jiraiya is Arashi father. Kakashi said, oh shit. Making everyone look at him. Shizune said, what? Kakashi made a hand sign and went up in a puff of smoke and changed into a man with brown hair and brown eyes and was the same height as Jiraiya, and Shizune pointed her finger at Kakashi as he changed back. Kakashi sighed and said, well, you did have sex with Arashi Sensei then. He used that excuse when he went out on dates because he did not want to be with someone because he was the yandere or his money. Shizune said, but even if that was real, I never had a child. I lost the ability to have children the year because of a rare virus I caught that year the Kyuubi attacked. Tsunade narrowed her eyes and said, Naruto, what did Sensei say about your mom? Naruto thought for a moment and said, he said she died giving birth to me, Why? Tsunade thought for a moment and asked, what did you mean earlier when you asked did they copy that jutsu or learn it right? Naruto closed his eyes and opened them a moment later and opened them, getting shocked looks from everyone as a diamond was around his eyes. Shizen looked like she saw a ghost as Naruto said the Sandyami said it was called Diggin. He said I was the last who could use it. It lets me copy any hand size jutsu like the Sharingan, but I can't see a few second in the future or chakra pattern or copy genjutsu or taijutsu. I only use it against enemies who use a lot of jutsu I never seen before. If it's some I know, then I don't even bother with it. He then closed them and opened his regular eyes for everyone. Tsunade looked down and said, Inoichi, can I ask a favor of you? Inoichi said, sure, go Dame-sama. Tsunade said, can you go and look into Shizun's memories at the ones around the time of the Kyuubi attack and tell me what you find? Inoichi looked at her and said, only if it's okay with Shizun. Shizun looked at Tsunade and asked, what are you thinking, Tsunade-sama? Tsunade said, the fact that he has your uncle's bloodline tells me that he is related to you, and like you said, you are an only child. The fact you lost the ability to have children that year makes me suspicious. You were in Konoha at the time the Kyuubi attacked. I came and got you after the Kyuubi attack. Something's not adding up here. Shizun sighed and said, do it, Inoichi. Inoichi nodded and did some hand signs and entered her mind, and a few moments later came out and fell on his butt. He looked at Shizun and then Naruto and said, Shizun, may I ask a personal question? Shizun looked at him and said, go ahead. He looked at the floor and asked, do you remember how you got that scar on your right breast? Tsunade said she got it from the Kyuubi attack. What? Inoichi shook his head and said she got it from the grass cutter sword. She is Naruto mom, but it appears that Naruto's actual birthday is the 9th, not the 10th like everyone thought, and Shizun went into labor after she jumped in front of an attack Orochimaru was trying to hit the Yondaime with. The Yondaime has someone put memory blocks on her so she would forget all about Arashi, and they made her forget everything from the moment she confirmed she was pregnant until the Kyuubi's attack. It was most likely one of my clan, but I could not tell you who since we lost a lot of members in the attack. Shizun looked at Naruto and he smiled and mouthed later. She nodded. Naruto sighed and said the plan was for the Leaf Village to befall a natural disaster so that the neutral party would give us more time to pay the fee out of guilt, which they did, but they gave us a new contract and put penalties on the extra time. We have been only able to pay the interest up till now officially, and so we still owe the balance, and our time runs out exactly 18 years from the disaster that hit the Leaf Village. We have less than 2 years left, so I think you all can figure out what disaster it was, though the original plan was for a wildfire to burn down the old section of the village that was to be condemned after the war since nobody lived there. The Sandyami made it look like fake people lived there in the records with his original plan, but after the Kyuubi attack the official count of the destruction was taken from the fake records, so not as many people died in Kyuubi's attack as everyone believed. We can thank Orochimaru for the attack, but since he's dead it's okay. Shino said if Orochimaru had not had made Kyuubi upset the plan would have worked and then we could have paid the debt off. Naruto nodded and said the Sandyami and Kyuubi both told me the truth when I was 4 after I received a beating and first met the fox. The Sandyami took time and trained me, and the first thing he taught me was blood clones so it could take my beatings while he trained me, and then put me in A, B, and U doing A and S rank missions that were all going into an account to draw interest and were completely off the books and help pay for the debt. After the Uchiha mess I had the other 8 Uchiha High S Hunter Nins, but since there was no official listing for them all missions I had them do were strictly off the books and went into the account to try and save the village. However, even after 2,000 missions we had only made enough to pay 10% of the debt. Hayash asked exactly how big a debt are we looking at? Naruto said $200,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000, making everyone gasp. Hayash asked why is it so much? Naruto said when we renegotiated after Kyuubi Danzo assassinated the first negotiator for them and they took offense. They enforced a penalty. I was only $10,000 short of the original fine with all the missions we did in secret. However, with the penalty that was another story. I came up with a plan after reviewing the contract, and until my plans were finalized I could not reveal anything, but I have come up with a way to save the people and citizens of Konoha from slavery as well as all our money and techniques as well as bloodlines, and because of that no matter what I will no longer be a leaf ninja. Making everyone scream what? Dustin asked why is that Naruto? Naruto smiled and said after I got close to the original payment before I became a genin with the rookie 9 I went to the lords and asked for a compromise after explaining the truth about Danzo's tree cherry. They told me they might have a deal if I could come up with something they want. When I told my wife about the problem after 2 years of marriage when me and Jiryo visited she gave me permission as her husband to use something the lords would want. Spring Country itself. This got everyone attention and Tsunade asked where is Spring Country and how does that help us? Naruto smiled and Tajuna said since Team 7 saved Snow Country they have officially changed their name to Spring Country and have become one of the wealthiest countries in the world because of the new influence of farmlands and other natural resources since they used to be under a blanket of snow and ice but now have the best farmland in the farmland to grow food and other products. Kakashi asked how does this exactly work Naruto? Are you just giving them Spring Country to save the village? Naruto said no. There is going to be a tournament held in Spring Country itself and Tajuna has built an arena there for us with his engineering skills that have forest, mountains, valleys, trees, rivers. It's a 10-mile battlefield and each team gets up to 25 people to battle. That's where you all come in. I wanted to tell you the entire truth so that way you know what's at stake and ask you to join my team. Shikamaru asked who exactly are the other teams. Naruto said all parties involved get one team, and the way it looks is IWA, Cloud, Rain, Mist, Danzo, and myself are making teams. The other countries say they do not want to be involved since 4 of the 5 major powers are involved. It is going to be a winner-takes-all battle, so you can guarantee deaths. I don't know what Danzo will do, but I know he knows, and if he wins I can guarantee with the backings of all parties involved he will make himself the leader of the village and make it like his route. Gaara asked why was Suna not allowed to get involved. Naruto said the Wind Lord decided that his country has seen enough war and does not want to risk it, but the truth is I think he was scared to confront you about it, Gaara. He still remembers when you threatened to crush his nuts with you said if he did not get out of your office after you told him you were not going to have to marry sleep with his son so he could brag about it. That's why I asked you to come also, Gaara, because I need all the help I can get. I hate having to ask friends to fight, but everyone in this room has earned the respect of not only myself but the Sandyami when he was still alive. So far I only have 5 confirmed people on my team. Me, Sasuke, Haku, Zabuza and Itachi. If that's all I can get, so be it, but I am fighting to win because I will not let my wife throw her homeland away for the Leaf Village, and I don't care if I have to kill everyone who gets in my way. I should tell you all that whether any of you decide to get involved, those from the Leaf Village will go to whoever wins, and also the head of the clans will have to come watch the battles from the observation decks to know who will get rights over them even if they are not fighting. If my team wins I am handing all right except for Spring Country itself back to Tsunade as the Godame Hokage, including my office which is under a genjutsu in my apartment. If you remove the toilet lid in my bathroom you will find a chakra focal point to dispel it at. I will be remaining in Spring Country with my wife and children. That's all I wanted to say, and thanks for the patty ants. As he got up and left in a swirl of flames leaving a shocked room. Kiba asked who was that. Hinata said that was the real Naruto that he has had to hide because of our village for his entire life. As she got up and walked out the door. Anko said I'm in. Kaki beat the shit out of Orochimaru so I can return the favor. Ibiki said in case any of you are wondering he was telling the truth about being Rokadame Hokage. I was his contact in ABNU and had one of my men also reviewing all missions before they ever reached Tsunade so he could pick the ones that were too dangerous for normal Leaf Ninja to do, like assassinating of the Lightning Daimyo 2 years ago. If that mission had failed or the person who did it was caught, it could not lead back to the Leaf since it was done by an Uchiha, and everyone knows no Uchiha is currently loyal to the Leaf. I am following the Rokadame for his last mission. As he left the room with Anka, Shizen looked at Tsunade and said I have some grandkids and a son to get to know. As she got up and Jiraiya started to get up when Tsunade grabbed him and said we need to talk. And both left in a swirl of leaves. Everyone that was left looked at each other and Hana asked so what are we going to do? Shikamaru sighed and said why do blondes have to rule the world and be so damn troublesome? Getting a hit from Ino and Inoichi. Sakura was thinking for a moment and said I wonder what village Itaki and Sasuke are a part of now with the other Uchihas. Getting the attention of everyone in the room. Tajuna said officially none. Naruto has a village made for ninja that are looking for a place to call home like them if they will help defend Spring Country from any enemies it might get, so what happened to Wave won't happen to Theater Country. All of the Uchihas live there and are happy. I know it is still small with only about 40 ninjas so far, but they are not getting involved in this fight. Naruto told them that this was the Leaf's problem and he was finishing his duty to the Leaf. Most of the ninja that live there are either genins that left Theater Village after Theater first kills and could not handle it, or too old to do much more than play games and be with Theater family. The others are ninja like Naruto who want a place to be with Theater families, and that's how they got there. So far the village is calling itself the Village of All Elements, and it is going to be ran by 5 cages. Gaara asked 5 cages, how will that work? Tajuna said well the way Naruto explained it to me is the cages are divided up into the 5 main elements. Water takes care of all the problems in the village with health and food. Fire takes care of defense of the village and training at academy. Lightning takes care of energy and trade related items such as businesses and merchants. Wind takes care of all the out of village mission as well as training after graduation, and Stone takes care of all citizens' needs that are not related to ninja as well as maintaining help for all the missions that are D and C rank on the island as well as protection of the leader of the Royal Council. Hayash asked what is this Royal Council? Tajuna said Princess Yuki decided the people of Spring Country needed a body of government so they won't fall under a dictator like her uncle was. The people were happy but sad because they wanted her family to have some power still, so they agreed to give the royal family 33% power on the council and 1 veto a month on an issue, and they stay as the figurehead for the country. Inoichi asked then how did she give Naruto the right to use the Spring Country in our problem? Tajuna laughed in a way that made everyone feel like they were idiots, and he said none of you have visited the countries that he has helped, have you? In your village he is seen as a demon or at the least a pest. In over 10 countries he is seen as a hero. My country named our bridge after him because he showed our people the pride in ourselves that we had lost. In Tea Country he showed them that even when people are trying to take away from you everything, you can still stand up and protect what is precious. To the people of Rice he is the ray of light that all evil should run from because he showed them that the only way to truly lose is to never try. In Snow Country he had a chakra restraint put on him and he still defeated the former dictator and showed them that through courage and compassion even in a never-ending winter spring can return. When she asked to do this for Naruto, not only did the entire council approve it but also every citizen of Spring Country. It unified them to show thanks to him for what he did for them. You are all idiots for never noticing it. Even when he acted like an idiot, he still showed his strength. Niji battle against him is proof of that. And he walked out the room leaving an awestruck group. Niji after a moment of silence said he's right. When I had my match, Naruto was already a cage. He beat me with just a bunch-in, cage punch-ins, and chakra that even though it came from his friend, it was no different from me using my bloodline. He could have beaten me at any moment, but then my pride would not have learned. Shikamaru said, I wonder if I can get a game of shogi with his kid or the real him. It might be interesting. As he left the room with his dad beside him, Ino looked at her dad and said, what are you going to do, Dad? Inoichi said, I don't know. Shino said, I am following my Hokage. And his dad nodded and they both walked out the door. Hayashi said, perhaps we should turn in for the night as it is getting late. Koji just ate his chips as him and his dad walked out of the room. Kiba looked at his mom and asked, well, what are we going to do? His mom looked at him and said, a good dog never turns on his pack and I for one don't want that ass Danzo to get control of the village. Hannah said, you heard her runt. As she followed her mom out of the room with her brother a few feet behind her. Kurane asked, so what are we going to do? Kakashi said, you know what I am going to do. Dustin asked, why am I here? It's not like I have any weapons to fix or make or anything. A voice from behind them said, actually you do. Making everyone turn and Kakashi's eyes got big at the sight of the person standing there. Kakashi said, Rin, is that you? Rin smiled and said, hey Kakashi, it's been a while. Dustin said, sorry to break up this meeting, but what is it you were talking about? Rin walked over and pulled out a scroll and bit her thumb before breaking the seal and said, I need these repaired for 3 friends. Showing 2 swords. Kakashi saw him and stuttered, but that's my dad's sword. How did you get it? Rin said, Naruto-sama been collecting the pieces in secret for you, and the other one was the Nidai's Hokage sword. He plans to use it during the fights ahead. The last one is for Sakura there. It was her dad's sword that was broken during the Kyuubi's attack. I live on the island now with my friends. Sakura was shocked because she knew of the swords but never thought that she would ever get to see them. Dustin looked at the pieces and whistled and said, this is going to be fun. With a smile on his face. Tenten slapped her forehead and said, you had to do that, didn't you? Lee asked, what's wrong? Tenten said, Dad's favorite hobby is restoring historical weapons.